So to answer your question, Jason, uh, y- yes, I am whole food plant-based, which is kind of different than vegan. Vegan implies a whole bunch of different things,
Yeah.
right? You could be vegan because it's animal rights or whatever, right? You could have a bunch of different reasons, but
Can't even think of a good reason, can you?
yeah, I can't even think of all the good reasons.
But I imagine too there are probably foods that qualify as vegan that probably don't qualify as whole foods, or is there like
Right. So
how
whole
it's grown and whatever?
yeah, whole food plant-based is the idea that you want it to be plants and you don't want it to be processed.
Okay.
So as close to whole as possible, right? So whole food, plant-based, and yeah, there's definitely vegan products, vegetarian products, that are highly processed but include vegetables. So so that kind of thing. It's worked out really well. We've been doing it for 2.5, almost 3 years now, I think. I kind of lost track, but I used to weigh 195 pounds without too much effort, and I was running 5 miles a day, and I told my wife, I said, I can't seem to shake. I can't seem to lose any more weight. And I wanted to lose some more weight. I wanted to get to like 180, 185. And she says, well, you should start walking in the mornings. So I did. I doubled my routine. I walked 5 miles in the morning, and then I would run 5 miles at night. And I did that for several months, and zero change. Just continued to stay at the same 195.
Well, thank God, because I don't want to take up walking in the morning. So go on with your story.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't either. And so anyway, we went whole food plant-based, and I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And right now I'm at like 180, 185. Just
Right where you wanted to be.
Sort of, yeah. Just because I'm my active life is not as active as I would like it to be. I sit at the desk a lot, right? So I still not burning through the calories that I take in. So it's worked out really well. We like it. We do it for the health benefits. I'm 40 plus. I'm actually 43. So things aren't the same as they used to be. When you're in your 20s, and you reach that point where you're kind of like, well, I want to live to be as old as I can. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we are.
I want to live to be as old as necessary for them to keep me alive forever.
All right. Right up to the point where they need to pull the plug, right?
I'm with you in theory, but for me, I couldn't live in Austin. I just know there's too much smoked meat-based goodness down there.
Oh, sure.
Louisiana.
Here's what we learned was that we weren't addicted to. We're not addicted to the material, right? So like I don't walk around craving flesh.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the actual
that's
meat.
That's got to be an excerpt right there.
Well, seriously, because once you take away the smoke and the salt and
I suppose if you grew a plant that made me feel the way the barbecue makes me feel.
Well, that's the thing though, is we have learned over time we use like Worcestershire sauce, and we use different smokes and flavors and stuff like that, and we wind up getting the same flavor. Like Jill makes this excellent spicy barbecue, and it's actually made out of what's called soy curls, which is soy is a plant. And
plug the website now. Be a good husband. What's the URL?
At simpledailyrecipes.com.
Plug that shit.
And it's really good. It is excellent, and you can't texture-wise and flavor-wise. You can't tell the difference. We've had meat eaters over, and we've given it to them, and they're like, they can't tell the difference. And so once we kind of made that transition, then we were like, well, we're really just after the flavor. We're not really after the raw material itself. Like we don't need meat.
Yeah, they were just being nice to you, Charles. They could definitely tell the difference. But that's okay.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'm sure
it's okay for there to be a difference. I think.
I think if you commit to it, you probably it's like the same thing. It's like if you give up sugar for long enough, you apparently don't crave it like you used to.
Well, it's like when I first started drinking soy milk. I was kind of like, what? It didn't seem right? And now if I go to Starbucks and I forget to say soy and they give me a dairy drink, You know, I'm like,
now let's say just curious. I don't know. We should probably get to tech stuff at some point, but I'm really curious at
tech
this
stuff.
point.
This is biology.
But if so, let's say you owned a farm, you were able to get up at 4 in the morning, go, milk a cow. Would you be able to drink that cow's milk under the constraints of Whole Foods plant-based?
No.
Okay.
Because and there's a lot of material to this. This is a very deep subject, so yeah, we don't have enough time to cover it all. But the idea is that one, what you're talking about is removing yourself from the industrial complex. Okay, the industrialization of food.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying go get yourself a cow, and you know what the cow eats.
Because I could certainly see, how going to the store and getting milk from who knows how many different cows on who knows how many different farms, that's
right. And it is like that. It is kind of all just mashed together and then homogenized and all that stuff. So could you? So to answer your question, could you do it and live a long, healthy life? Sure. Right. The problem comes in that there's two things. One is the quantity of consumption and the quality of the ingredients. Food has become industrialized, so the quality of the ingredients have gone down. The fat content has gone up, and our consumption has gone up as well. To give you an example, sugar used to be the sweetener in most products. Today it's high fructose corn syrup because it's cheaper, right? And in and of itself, probably not that big of a thing. But the problem is it's in pickles, right? If you go and get classic pickles or whatever, it's in your pickles. It's in your soda drinks. It's in anything that has a sweetener to it these days has high fructose corn syrup. So the amount of exposure to it is extremely high. The same thing is true of our meat consumption, our salt intake, all those things. It's just all that stuff is just out of balance. So the idea with whole food plant-based is that you are just kind of going back to basics, right? And you are consuming a nutritional source that your body can burn through and use and doesn't build up animal fats in your system, and I feel better for it personally. So that's my take.
Have you done an app yet for the co-op that you use to get your veggies?
Well, see, it's interesting you say that because everybody kind of goes through all of that kind of stuff. We've done co-ops before. Co-ops have their own little quirks. We even went through a pasture-raised thing where we ate pasture-raised meat. We ate free-range chickens. We did all that kind of like trying to do that stuff. So now what we do is we try to stick to organic vegetables that we can find at the supermarket, or we will go to a farmer's market on occasion. But we've decided we want to go whole food plant-based, and we don't want to be all wigged out about it, right? You know what I'm saying? We're not militant about it. So my van, I bought it. It has leather seats. I love them. They're heated, and I'm not giving them up. The cow is already dead, So would I pick those next time? Probably not, just to try to not to participate in the overall conversation, but I already have them, and I'm not giving them up. And if somebody wants to come over to the house and eat, a burger, I just ask they bring their own meat because we're not going to have it at the house, right? So we just try to be laid back about it.
Super laid back.
Yeah, because people get so wigged out about it, right? I mean, there's people who they get mean, they get defensive, they get like you feel like you're restricting their freedoms, and it's like no, it's not about that. I just want to be healthy and I feel better, and this is the way I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to make that choice, and if you don't do it, that's cool.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's all about making decisions. You've got leather seats, but you don't eat meat. I go to town on some burgers, but I don't like leather seats. Like, who cares? Like, it's all about the choices. In the modern world, is it possible to have clean hands? I don't think so. I mean, I've got clothes from Target and Walmart. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. If you watch every documentary on Netflix, you will pretty much not be able to do anything.
Right. Exactly. We had. we were gonna go through, like, have a crazy, ridiculous, birth with no drugs and all that fun stuff. But suffice to say, that was not in the cards. So.
Yeah, right.
I do think,
what I
though,
mean?
I mean, going back to sort of the app angle on it, though, that's a tight-knit community that I think, there's bound to be an opportunity in there somewhere to make a product that serves that community.
Yeah, and I see exactly where I think you're going with the tie-in. So yeah, sure, exactly. I mean, we're talking about a niche market. Of course, it's becoming more and more mainstream. I think the conversation at least is, and people are trying to make decisions. I mean, a lot of the people that Jill talks to on her, she does hang withs, and she does, she talks with people online, and a lot of the stuff that she talks to are people who have health problems, right? I mean, they have reached that point where the doctor's like, look, you've developed diabetes, or you've got high blood pressure, or they've got to make dietary changes. And I think that a lot of people, more and more people, are reaching that point. And so there is a definite entry point where people seek these things out. You don't have to, in the app space, it's all about user acquisition and trying to get people to play your game long enough to show them some ads. But there are definitely markets out there where people are seeking out solutions for whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, whether it's reviewing markets where you can get these types of things, where you're going to get the best produce in your community, whatever. I mean, not to equate one with the other necessarily, but I can't be the only guy who, when marijuana was legalized in Colorado, I was like, somebody should go out there. If an app guy and a guy who is a connoisseur of this stuff were to go out there and make the app that rates all the dispensaries and gets in there fast enough, there's money to be made there. There's an audience there.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be first to market, though, don't you think? I feel like that's like the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Wait. Are we talking about marijuana still? Because the first to market there is, like legally hazy. Or
we're talking about spices. Do you guys see that article in The Economist? We're talking about spice drug abuse is up by like 8,000% in Thailand prisons.
What?
Yeah, crazy.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Spice drug abuse? Like,
it's like
snort cinnamon?
What I'm talking about? It's like the Miami Zombie. It's just like, the synthetic meth that they make. You know what I mean?
Like the bath salt type of stuff or whatever.
Exactly.
Well, as long as it's just out of control in prison, I don't care.
It's going to spill out, though, Ed. It's going to be next door pretty soon.
How did it spill out of prison? Okay, that's a failure of the prison to keep.
Hey, Thailand is not that far away, Ed.
Exactly. It's a one world economy we're in here, Ed. Watch out.
Oh,
you never know who's going to play.
We got from prison to one world economies? Okay.
Is Ed on drugs again? I got here late.
Yeah.
Ed's on spice.
Say something technical to break the momentum.
This ain't your Monday afternoon, Corona Geek.
There you go. Or wave something bright in front of the camera. That'll do it too.
Yeah. After dark.
So there's Happy Cow. There's a Happy Cow app, which is
we just couldn't get away.
Yeah, which is gives you ratings on vegan and vegetarian places, and it's got stars, and you can take pictures and share stuff. I mean, it's basically a social app for vegans. Well,
you guys are totally
wow, that really put a damper on things. Good.
I stopped listening.
No,
I heard the word vegan and I gave up.
You told I'm sitting down to the taco in front of me, so I'm going to mute my microphone so you don't hear me crunching.
Nom.
So, Ed, I see you're sharing your screen.
I'm just playing around with my stuff, not to sound weird or anything.
Too late for that.
Yeah.
This is so I'm doing a Patreon finally, and one of the things that participants in my Patreon, just to say that loud, get is people who participate in my Patreon get a email at the end of the month, and they may select, if it's depending on the level, they get that month's answers. I'm not saying this right at all, am I? Okay, rewind.
No, let's talk about this, because I looked at your Patreon page and I was kind of confused by the levels.
Duly unimpressed? I know.
No. Just confused by maybe not understanding the terminology. So.
Yeah. So basically, I'm starting off Patreon real simple. I got a $1, a $2, and $5 for people who really love me, which is like all of you guys.
and we've been hassling you over this, so this is
yeah, I had to do something. So okay, first of all, the image is no good. That's got to get replaced with something game development related. Yes, I need a video too. I realize this. You're showing my page here. New monthly answer pack. It's kind of confusing when you fill these things out. So the way this works is, are you showing your screen exclusively, Charles?
Yeah. Well, I'm showing.
Okay,
yeah.
Keep that up.
Yeah.
So Patreon, the way it works is you go through and you fill out this questionnaire. You tell people who you are, not realizing that when you do, that it's all going to be printed out on the left side of the screen in like this super narrow column. You haven't even gotten there yet, where it tells like who I am. But then you say, these are the rewards that I want to provide. Yeah.
Sorry. So where you are, who you are, is way down here at the bottom.
Way down at the bottom, and off to the left, and very narrow, and whatever. So you tell people, you fill out this thing where you say, well, $1 I'll give people this, $2 I'll give people that. You also fill out this bit where you say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, which is that part there about I enjoy making games, and yada, yada, yada. And then you also set these like values for like, if I make this much money, I promise I'll be able to do this month, which is what you see on the upper left-hand corner there. So if you're confused, I was confused too.
I think this is fine. I'm not confused by this at all, and I don't think you need to worry about the format because you're not selling you. It's not like I'm buying Ed. You're buying whatever is in this centerpiece here. Who gives a shit who's actually selling it? Like what they want is what you're selling.
Well, the who you are is sort of backing up the credentials that you can deliver. I think is but
they wouldn't have gotten here unless they knew him.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd argue that by the time you get here, you already know who this person is, right?
Yeah, I think so. So
I know you want to use your high school picture down there to sell your Patreon page, but
my high school picture.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell. What is that, like 180 by 180? I can't even tell. You need to get a better screen grab for that.
Saying you look youthful.
You need some.
Are you saying I look old now?
You're a beautiful man. Absolutely. I'm just saying that pullover.
You're pushing the boundaries. I'm ready to hang up. I'm so hurt. I'm really hurt. Oh, okay. So regardless of how much you wish to hurt me and call me,
I sold you that zip up. That was a structure special right there. I remember that. I was working retail when you came in and bought it. So we're in the same boat. I was wearing the same thing. I had the ribbed turtleneck. You look good, Ed. It's what I'm saying. You don't need to worry about selling you. You're selling the steak, not the sizzle.
Okay.
Alex is digging a hole. Tell him when to stop.
I'm just waiting for him the steam to run out.
You're selling the soy, not the smoke.
So what's an answer pack? So
an answer pack, I'll show you in a minute. You remember I showed on previous shows where I had this idea. Basically, I answer questions in the forums, but sometimes it's too much work to answer the question, so the return on investment for me is not good. In other words, it's a complicated question. It's interesting, but it would take me 30 minutes to answer it, and I don't like to do that. I mean, I like to answer questions if I can, but I don't want to spend a lot of time either explaining and having to fill out the details in the forum, or worse yet, doing all that and giving a detailed example. Now, I do these things, but I decided that rather than do that a lot, I'll do it sometimes, and the rest of the time, I'll package up answers to interesting questions, and I will sell a small package of these at the end of the month. It was going to be a weekly thing, and I'm like, forget about that. And I'll typically answer between 20 and 30 interesting questions and put them all together in one big package. And they're packaged in a way that people can just extract the code and run it. Or they can run it in the sampler, which is what you were seeing earlier. See if I talk slowly, that'll give me a chance to. So if you can show my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, the easy way to do that, anybody who doesn't know, you can just click on Ed's little square and it'll permanently show
Yeah,
show
you
his
just
screen.
click
Yeah,
on it, but
yeah,
for the
'cause I'm-
video
I'm
itself,
click-
it won't be showing.
Yeah, because I'm clicked on Ed Square and it'll show up for the rebroadcast. But yeah, for
Yeah,
tonight,
I just want to make sure it's later. So basically what you got in here is I put together this little framework where I just get to create the examples, and the more I put in, the more show up in this automatically generated menu. So there's 3 pages of answers, 26 answers for July, and I'm currently working on the one for August and for April and May and June. So I'm going to do prior months. And the reason is my Patreon account for $2 and $5, those folks get that month, and they can select 2 more from other months.
So I want to open this up and Ed, are you open to suggestions or
I'm always open
questions?
to suggestions as long as you don't hurt my feelings.
Okay. Don't
Your
mention.
feelings are easily hurt, Ed. Now,
Okay,
now
it's
everybody
going to be the
just
Wheel of
pretty.
Fortune.
Call him
And the
pretty.
Wheel of Fortune says jackpot. All right, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'd like to try to open this up to 2 things. One
Alright.
is the Patreon page. Does anybody, as they're looking at this, do they have questions, concerns, constructive comments?
Can we throw a link in the?
I'm talking and walking and chewing gum here. Yeah, got it. And then the other thing is, well, I thought I did. Oh, there it is.
It's in
Slow.
the, you posted it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
And then the other thing is, as you're looking at this sampler, do you feel like this is the best way to distribute information, or do you think it would be easier to do it a different way, or whatever? Because I think there's two things here. One is, do people understand what you're offering, and 2, is it easy for them to cash in on what they're buying into?
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more so it's just clear. So when you get this sampler, so basically they'll download this and they can run it in the simulator, or they could build it for their device, and they'll be able to click on any one of these things and run it. Like they'll see how to do a collision example that this person asked a specific question about collisions, and I demonstrated it. But if they wanted it, they could say, okay, let's see, which one did I click on there? Sorry, helps keep track of which one you're showing. Okay, so number one is in the folder Easy Collisions. So if I go over there, just open up the answers folder under the example, and there's a whole set of files they can just copy and paste anywhere they want, and it'll run independently of the sampler. So I did this really interesting thing where I made a bit of code that allows me to load these as if they are independent projects and override all of the path structure that's going on. So it pretends like that's the root folder when it's not. So when they run it independently, it runs exactly the same as it does in the sampler. So my point here is they don't need the sampler code, they just need this folder. So go ahead, question?
So it's the same, you've got a separate folder for each of these that is a self-contained project,
Right.
but you also have it in the main project, and you're not duplicating those files.
No, this is these buttons are executing the code in these folders, and each one of these is an independent project.
That's cool.
So so what I did was I went in and I overrode all the major libraries like display and whatnot. So when you click this button, what happens is it calls the override code, and it temporarily caches aside all of those libraries, and then I put some extra processing on it so that it knows, look in this folder for all the resources. So that's a technical thing that's a reason alone to get this pack. You can see how I did that.
I was gonna say, Ed, you should advertise that. I think what you got here is good. I don't know of anything that you can do better. Were you trepidatious just about your little marketing blurb on the lower left? How it was.
I think the whole page needs something. I don't know what that something is though. The only part that I like is the middle part, where you're looking at the $1, $2, $5. That's it. That's the part I like. Everything else I kind of don't like.
I don't think you need to worry about anything else. I think that's the important part.
Yeah, that's the part they see the most. So.
Yeah.
But do you guys understand?
Oh, gosh. EFM link here. I didn't put the link.
Where?
Right
What?
in the middle of the page there. Good job. I was supposed to put a link to the product thing. Anyhow. Yeah.
Is this thing live?
The page is live. The Patreon is live, so it's not helping me that it looks like it's incomplete.
Oh.
It's all good. It's very easily fixed. I'll go repair it.
Oh, I see what you got right there. The EFM
yeah, I was
link
supposed
here.
to link to the first one of these answer packs, and I didn't do that.
Gotcha. I don't think you need to. Yeah, it's whatever, Ed. I think it's fine.
Now, explain what an answer pack is, right? And probably having seen it before, it's easy for us to understand. But do you guys think that this makes sense to somebody just right off the bat? Because I'm not sure that I do.
I'm struggling.
I don't know. We're talking about, you're targeting 1, a Corona developer, 2, that's relatively new to Corona, and 3 is looking for answers, and 4 has relatively, a somewhat expendable income to be devoting to this. So
no, but I think I see what Charles is getting at, is that fairly early on in the process, so right at where it says, gives the dollar, and it says, if you can't afford much but you want to support me, as a reward you'll see an email with that month's Forum Answers pack. Okay, and then there's not a link there, and that might be part of it. But I think there could be some sort of explanation earlier in the process of what an Answers pack is. And I think if there's a video, I mean, I don't know, I don't spend a lot of time on Patreon, so I don't know what the sort of best practices is for it, but I know with Kickstarter it's all about the videos, so having a short video at the front might go a long way towards.
Yeah, you're encouraged to make a video, which I did not, because making videos is not easy for me.
I think if you said, hey, I'm Ed Marina, this is what I do, here's what I normally do, and I'd like to do something similar for you, and here are your ways to opt into that, and
you should definitely pronounce your last name, because I don't know where to put the emphasis. So it is good. It's good that Charles did that for me.
Oh, don't follow my example. Good Lord.
Oh, is that wrong? Well, see, that's why you need to put that in the video.
The thing is, Charles, is that little thing that you just said where I said, hi, my name is Ed Marina, and this is what I normally do. That's like I've already done 5 retakes.
Right.
You need to have 2 coffee mugs to hold.
Is your concern the video side of it or the audio side of it? Because you could go the whole Ed Burns documentary style, just record an audio track and use some images.
Yeah, you don't have to be in front of the camera. It helps, I think, to see a person's face these days, right? Because we want to know. We typically buy from people that we feel like we know.
But I think that could be a very short. I mean, that could literally be as short as, "Hi, I'm Ed," and you're waving, and then from that point on, it's just audio with imagery.
Or if you wanted to be really cheeky, you could do puppets. Those would be cool too.
There we go. I could do a.
I'm serious.
I could do a video in style. What's that company that does those great videos for their game?
Barry should loan you his cat. I think the cat should make a cameo.
It should be one sports sock, one Argyle sock.
Yeah, do a flash animation.
Can't show yourself for too long, otherwise they'll realise you don't look like in the photo. You see?
I couldn't hear that. What?
The thing is, if you show yourself on video now, people will realise you don't look like in the photo on your website.
Stop saying that.
Why do you should use your current picture.
I don't know what it is.
But at the very least, you should remove the glasses.
Yeah, I got about 10 pounds on that guy.
You should just take a picture in front of that bookcase.
That was me at 170. This is me at 180.
Ed, you look great. Your years have done great for you. What you should do, Ed, is you need to take a picture in front of your bookcase. That's a selling point right there. Look at all that history back there. Pulling out Fallout games and impressing everybody on the stream. That's good stuff.
Hey, man, the bookcase. Oh, you're killing me.
By the way,
is good.
I expect a Fallout book report. Have you played it yet?
You know what? I was trying to ignore my son the other day, and then he poured my cup of coffee on the hardwood floor. So I gotta find a new game plan.
Have you played Fallout? Who has now played Fallout since we talked about this?
I was supposed to. Jason even hooked me up with a sweet download.
I'm totally disappointed in you.
I know. I lost so many followers.
I straight up gifted it to him. I said, this is my gift to you."
Now,
I need to get after it. I promise.
Okay. No, but you know what? Listen, it's not a. You need to give yourself a couple hours to really get yourself into it. So I get it's not necessarily super easy to pick up and play.
Let me ask you this question. I mean, this is something that, get past the wreck, got it. I mean, how often do you guys play games?
Not as often as I like.
I was playing Guitar Hero in the arcade tonight.
No, he said games.
Did you take a time machine back in like 2002?
Burn!
Play more! I'm sorry.
No, you know what the sad part is? I'm not as infrequently, and then when I do, I find I'm like replaying ones. Like I downloaded the Gabriel Knight remake, and I know there are games that I have not played that I should play. But no, I'm gonna replay Gabriel Knight. You know, I played games from 20 years ago. That's what I play.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I know that.
About once a week, to answer your question. I try to play a game about once a week, but typically I play a PC game, so shoot me.
So do you make an effort? Is it like scheduled game time so you guys can stay in the loop for the most part?
No.
I struggle to find 15 minutes where I can pull out Questlord and try to put in some serious time.
Like every few days to look at games on mobile, but I don't really play them. That doesn't qualify as playing. That's me investigating basically their interface and the play mechanics.
Now we're on to another topic.
That's a good point. That's such a good point. When I play games now, I'm like, it's like the Matrix. I can see the code going by. I'm like, okay, I kind of get this. I kind of get that. Like, it's interesting how they did that. Is there any more playing for playing now? Like whenever you're playing a game, can't you see the gears behind it?
Well, like I said, the once a week when I play a PC game, then I don't have that in my mind. But if it's mobile, no, I'm always looking at the mechanics.
I'm going to play Fallout 4 just to play it.
Yeah.
And I actually picked up Fallout 3 again a week before they made the announcement for Fallout 4. It was super timely. I just was sort of like, that's just a fun game. I should... And then I played it for, I put a good 3 hours into it, and then I haven't touched it since. But for me, 3 hours is pretty extraordinary to do it in one sitting. The hard thing is for me, I mean, I live in New York, so I commute. I've got almost 90 minutes a day underground. So, like, I've got a Vita. I don't play it that much, but I love it when I get a good Vita game because that's a perfect environment for that. Like, when they re-released Grim Fandango, I definitely played that. I played Guacamelee, which was a great game for a handheld. But yeah, mobile's good for that too. I mean, certainly a game that's good for iPhone and iPad. But again, it's sort of, can you pick it up in a 30-minute burst and put it down? That's great for casual games. Some of the more intensive ones, like, I bought the Baldur's Gate remake for iPad, and yeah, maybe one of these days I'll actually. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool when games, older games, which is sort of what I'm super into, do get remade for that iPad, because I think an 8 or 9 inch screen that can go 1024 by 768 or double that is perfect for a lot of those games. So.
Well, I mean, that's all. Yeah, okay, I agree. That's why I started with Chrome in the first place, because I was like, mobile's the move. I don't really care about native. I can definitely make something UI related that's passable. So. There's no reason to try to duplicate, to reinvent the wheel there. And I figured that people sitting down at their consoles playing Call of Duty, how often are they going to be looking at, this is kind of before Steam and everything, so how long are they going to be, how often they can be looking at indies like a one-man shop, you know what I mean? So that's kind of why I went to mobile in the first place. So I agree, when you see games like that, it's really cool, but it's so few and far between that I'm not like playing something to evaluate, or playing something to get like an idea, or playing something to kind of kick the tire, so to speak, on a mechanic that I might want to use in one of my own, apps or whatever, or games or whatnot. Like, can you ever like zone out like you used to? I could sink 9 hours into Final Fantasy, and I would blink and it would be dark outside. So I don't know if I will ever be able to do that again. I don't know if it's an age thing or what. What do you guys think about that?
I think I'd have to have more free time to do that. Unchallenged free time.
Yeah, is it just a situation where like I'm not in high school, like I'm some jerk off idiot, like, and I have no responsibilities?
I still enjoy games. It's just yeah, I've noticed exactly what you're saying. Is as I got older, I just had less time. I had less inclination to play.
I play games all the time. I play games daily, at least an hour.
But you're winning, Eric. You're out there getting it. Like that's not. You're already crushing. You know
you're
what
working
I mean?
hard, but you're maybe not. Yeah, no, that's not the right word. I don't want
winning. What I'm saying is, like, Eric's making, the money for actually putting that shit out on his own dime. You know what I mean?
We need a dinger for when Alex uses up one of his swear words of the night. That's one.
Do I get a jar? I need a jar. That's why Laura's not on. I'm offending her delicate ears for sure.
I doubt it. Probably talking about pistachios.
Do we have an official policy on I have to say, the only rule with that is you can't. It's like Chekhov. If you show a gun in the first act, it has to go off in the third. I'm thinking of this because the Fuse-powered podcast always begins with a disclaimer that, like, it may contain adult language, and then it never does, and I'm always secretly sort of disappointed.
So this one hits you, runs up and hits you right in the balls with the curse words for sure.
I don't know if that's a 1.5 now or 2.
His balls, is that bad?
Oh, that's definitely 2 now.
Well, wait, are we going off the CBS model? No, that's not fair. Is that the CBS model where you can't use balls to refer to somebody's balls?
2.5.
You're talking about something else. Are you gonna block me now, Charles? Is that too many balls?
No, not as much as you keep your pants on.
Damn it to make me keep track. Hey, so we were going to talk about technical topics tonight, and then we kind of got sidelined by my Patreon, and then
I think the Patreon's important, because I don't know. Eric's his head's gonna explode when I say this, but I think that even Eric could do a Patreon. Boom! There goes his head. So
there it went.
Because he has a community, and he can offer them things beyond just the app itself.
That's what I'm saying. He's out there winning. He's out there getting it.
Here's a question, and this I don't know if this is in the cards for you, but with like Questword 2, have you thought about putting in some sort of like new dynamic content, whether it's through downloadable or because that could be a place for Patreon where you get early access to the new quests that get put in, or you get your name as a character in this new downloadable quest or what have you. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
I've gone through all kinds of ideas like that. I even have an Indiegogo page. It's like it's been ready for me to hit the button on. I just can't do it. There's something about like I'm going to do this anyway, whether people are giving me money or not. So it's like I really don't want to like charge money for doing something I'm going to do anyway. And plus, I have a lot of friends that have done Kickstarters, and it's a lot of work, and it becomes a lot of pressure because those people you're now beholden to those people.
Yeah, sure.
And I love the idea, since I'm doing this on my own and I don't have a publisher, I don't have a boss, I just have my fans that are going to buy it anyway. So that's kind of what I want.
And that seems to be a recurring thing with you. I mean, you like that you don't have an overlord. People can buy the app and then the value's been delivered. So yeah, if something like that's not your thing, then it probably wouldn't go where you need it to go anyway.
Yeah, and also it's just like there's so much work I got to do now, and those do take a lot of time. You can see Ed's pouring a lot of time into it. But it's a different kind of thing, and I don't know. I don't want to be beholden to anybody.
You don't want to get sidetracked, and you don't need to have extra pressure.
But I have been considering in-app purchases for Questlord 2, but it's going to be more modular down the road, kind of like second year of its life kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you certainly don't want to have with a game like that, I don't, it might rub people the wrong way that it's like, hey, day one, here's some stuff that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I would think that once you've reached the end of a quest, and you needed the next leg of the adventure or whatever, that would be the natural inflection point to be able to say, oh, you can buy into that next tier or whatever, right? But you've already played the game for like however long. You've already gotten your value out of it.
At the end of the game, I might offer like a sequel inside Questlord 2.
Yeah, you've already explored, you've already gotten your value out of it, but now this is just sort of like a.
It might be really hard to squeeze into a mobile device, but if you could create some sort of quest creation tool, that would be something your players would definitely pay for, and find a way to share that with others. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's just not enough me to do it at the moment.
Yeah, well, and I think it would be hard to squeeze a robust tool onto a mobile device, certainly a phone.
Yeah, I don't know. I do a lot of my tool work the only thing I'd need to really do is make a tile editor, because I've set my game up so that I can actually do a lot of the testing on device, which is cool, and a lot of the additional stuff like add players and stuff, drop items.
Yeah, I find it better to be able to have some kind of built-in editor, even if only I use it, because the turnaround time is so long to the device.
Right.
I can afford that extra time.
Did you guys ever see what Rob Allison did with his 14px?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little platformer game.
Yeah, let me see if I can. I'm trying to pull up the
Got it on my mobile
show notes here, because he actually has an online editor though, and I don't know if it's been a while since we've talked with him, so who knows? He may not still maintain it, but the idea was that you go online and you create your additional level, and then that gives you a code that in the app you put in the code, and then that level pops up, and you can create levels and share them with other people.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it here. I used to have a link
What
to
I
it.
can't remember is if he monetized that in some fashion. Let me turn on.
I don't think so. I think it was just a big experiment. He was using Canvas for HTML, and to do the drag and drop stuff.
Okay, volume off, please. Sorry, not you guys. Good game.
I was trying to find the level editor here. It was really nice though. I mean, he.
It's not the editor. It's just the game. Go on.
There was like
I don't know if everybody else is seeing this. I'm seeing nothing go to black screen when you speak.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Hold on.
Charles is down and out.
I know it. I was actually trying to find the link here.
You've been blocked, Charles. Must have used up all your curse words. You said vegan one too many times.
I did. I said vegan one too many times.
You can see your screen there.
It doesn't look like It doesn't look like it's coming up either. His website's not coming up, or something. Anyway, he did it all through the website. So they had an online companion, and then the code was you could give the person the code. That's not him. And skip the ad, please.
You might want to hide your screen in case you get something you don't want to show.
Yeah, you know it. But yeah.
Hey, it's you, Charles. We don't need to see your good camera anymore.
Yeah, no, there I am. But yeah, so once you had the code though, you could share it with anybody, in game. So it was kind of a cool thing. So if you're looking for somebody to pick their brain, Rob Allison would be a good person.
I want to talk a little bit about this. So I've been working on the concept of, okay, so when you make a game, what are your choices? You can make a game and you can make all the content yourself, and then you can spend a lot of time developing all these levels and hope that somehow your game does well. Or you could do a game that generates levels, like an endless runner or something like that. Another option is you can make a game with a certain number of levels, say 10 or 20, and then you can provide an editor and let your users create. So sort of like the Minecraft model, right? And I've been working on a set of code for myself to make it possible to do what I call evergreen games, which is basically I make 10 or 20 levels and then I release it into the wild. It's got a server behind it, an editor, and people can create content levels and then upload them to the server, and other people can download them. But my question is about monetization. It always comes back to monetization, because it's pointless to make a thing if you're not going to monetize it in some way. So first of all, my question for you guys is: do you even think that sounds like an interesting idea, that users should be able to make their own content and game levels?
I'm going to say two things. I think it's an awesome idea, and I think you can make things without trying to monetize them. I think is a philosophical opinion. That
okay, how can I pay my rent without monetizing them?
Right.
I'm going to interject because, Barry, there's a little lag on your audio, so I see you talking, but you get drowned out a little bit. So Barry was saying something.
Well, I mean, it works as extra publicity. It's more reason for people to play your game and to bring in friends and stuff like that. I think the real issue here with editors, because I've done exactly this, and the problem is that the tools that we write for ourselves are not really usually polished or bug tested enough for public release, and that can be a really, really big issue. Things that are obvious to us, like I used to end up with 1 million keyboard shortcuts in my editors, and on a device, yeah, I mean, putting stuff on a phone is going to be really, really tricky. On an iPad, it's doable, but the problem is just we get used to using things, and an editor is quite a complicated tool, and if you're going to release it to the public, it has to be really polished, and it has to go through the same quality assurance and all of this lot on user testing, and that's quite a big deal.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. That there is a significant challenge to making a useful editor that people can grok without a lot of instructions or watching videos or getting help from somebody. But let's just assume that we get past that. So we got an editor that people can somehow understand, and you got a solid back end. Another problem I ran into was just how do you deal with uploading and downloading levels. So I wrote a Chromium module to allow uploading arbitrarily large or whatever arbitrarily large levels and downloading them. So coming back to my big question is about monetizing. It always comes back to monetizing for me. So you feel like that it is good in the sense that it encourages people to play because then they can create stuff to share with their friends.
Well, yeah, I mean, this needs to be tied into social media as well. I mean, if I write a level, you'd probably going to be able to share it over Facebook or something. I agree with you, you don't do these things for no reason at all, but I do think that in making people want to share it and to bring their friends in, because it's one thing to say, hey, try and beat my high score, it's, hey, try and beat my level I made.
And I think there's two ways to do that. You know, I think it's possible to have you know, a free tier that says share this with your friends, it's one-on-one. And then another one that says, hey, throw this up for the community, and let's have a server that's hosting, you know, more Little Big Planet style, right? So everybody in the world can see your level and rate it and do that sort of thing. That, to me, is an opportunity to let the user try the editor, see if they're into it, get the fun of sharing it, and then if they're really invested in your game, say, hey, pay me 99 cents, and you can throw it up for the world to see and see how other people play it.
Okay, so let's talk seriously about the monetization question. So I've entertained a lot of different ideas about monetizing. So you got this application. Let's say the game is completely done, 20 levels, editors in there, and you release it for free. How do you monetize it? Do you say...
Well, hold on.
Back up.
I mean, you got to talk about who you're going to be targeting this at. I mean, the question is that, of course, you don't do anything for free. Of course not. You don't do anything for a reason. If you're making a free app, then your monetizing is going to be everything that the app is not. So it's everything that makes the game, you know, to get like an item, right, to make a new level, all that good stuff. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it doesn't. I just saw a forum thread where somebody was talking about how they're getting a $20 download a day return, and they've got in-app purchases. One is for like $120. So I mean, it's a free app. It's some simple city builder game. You know, there are like thousands out there, but this guy happens to be, you know, making it on his own, and he's doing a great job. Now, if you're doing it for free, you're definitely monetizing that level creation, because that's that's another part of the game that you're going to be monetizing. I mean, how would you do it? I mean, that I don't know how you would not do it. I mean, either they pay to make the level, they pay to have the ability to make a level, they pay to have the ability to share that level with friends, they pay for the ability to download other people's levels. I mean, there's so many ways that you can
Right. That's the exact question I'm asking, though. I wanted to ask is let's say that you got the app and you were able to download like 5 levels for free, and you could upload 1 level for free. But after that, you had to do an in-app purchase to unlock the game for future use, to be able to do that forever. Or you had to buy tokens and use tokens to do that. Do either of those sound like good or bad ideas? Or
tokens rub me the wrong way. I'm not a fan of anything where I'm not buying it. You know, I'd rather pay a little bit more of a premium to just have access to a feature. I'm not a fan of having to pay per use for something, but maybe that's just me.
Mm-hmm. No. I mean, this is why I'm asking the question, because I kind of feel the same way, but other people have said tokens sound good.
Did you see the developer of Crossy Road? Is it Matt Hall? Is that right?
I don't know.
Eric knows. Anyway, the developer of Crossy Road did a talk, and he said he didn't like coins, he didn't like tokens, he didn't like gems, he didn't like any of that stuff. He liked something that you could intrinsically have. Like once you purchased it, it was yours to keep. It didn't expire. Was not consumable. And arguably they've done really well with the app, and they have in-app purchases, but those in-app purchases are for the user, not for the developer.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
So the reason I think one reason I might lean towards tokens, just as a solution, to answer what you're saying here, Charles, is although consumables sound bad in some ways, what are you talking about when you're talking about the cost of this application? The cost is running those servers and all of that bandwidth for people downloading and uploading content.
Right.
So 2 ways to.
I will say the one thing that I have, having never done it myself, and I'm not a big consumer of it, but I appreciate it as a strategy, is tokens that you can buy. But it's not the only way to gain access to something, right? It's you can. There was a big splash in a couple of podcasts I listened to a couple weeks ago because the new Street Fighter game is taking this. You don't need to buy any of this stuff. You can play enough to unlock it through, obtainable in-game currency that's just rewarded by playing. Or if you're really into it, here you can. So this is tokens, but there's it's not strictly speaking a paywall.
Yeah.
So out of the people on the panel, how many have played Clash of Clans?
I've never played it.
Does 5 minutes count? Yes,
So,
I played it, but not so
played
far
it.
as to be unlocking any of the features.
You haven't bought any gems or done any.
No, I basically did like the first couple of battles, and then I was done.
Anybody else? Anybody else have bought anything in Clash of Clans? It's okay. We're not going to judge you.
Well, I think this is the wrong forum for that. Just like it's the wrong, place for Ed. Ed, if I had the answer, then I would be a millionaire, and then I would be running this Google Hangout. You know what I mean?
I'm feeling you guys out.
But we're not. That's the crazy thing is that we're not.
I'm just feeling you guys up. So
You're feeling us up.
I've never played Clash of Clans. I've never shared anything. Like an achievement on Facebook. I've never done anything like that. Like I've got to build the ability to do that for other people, but I've never done that before myself.
This goes back to what Alex was talking about earlier. Is that how often do you play games? Right? Is that what you're saying? All right, we're the wrong group to ask because we're too busy trying to create the games.
Market research with this particular market might not really get you anywhere. Jason doesn't like tokens.
Jason said tokens were okay.
I thought Jason didn't like it.
Well, I sort of said a little bit of both, didn't I?
Yeah.
All right, so he's all over the place, but 90% of the world likes tokens. So you'd probably be all right with doing tokens. People like those, Yeah,
but it's interesting that you say that because it's a question of when you're developing something, you might not be your ideal audience, right? So a guy like me is going to go like, tokens. Oh, I would never buy those tokens, so I'm not going to do it. But that would be potentially a foolish idea. You know what I mean? Because if,
Totally.
if you said it's a winning strategy with a lot of people, and not everybody views it the way I view it, then it would be stupid to stop at that. You know, I should do that.
Now we're on to the bigger question about, and I think this is kind of what Ed is trying to get after, and this is the question of, and now that we have so many more people looking at Corona, because you're going to be able to push out builds for Windows and Mac OS, get into Steam and blah blah. You know, the question is, how are you making your game or your app? Are you looking at it from the user? Are you making a game? Or are you making money, and the game is to enable you to make that money? Like, which way are you looking at it?
I try, personally, when I make a game, I'm going to say 75% of the time. 75% of the time when I make a game that I would be interested in playing, and I play with the mechanics and I goof around with it until I'm happy and I'm actually starting to enjoy playing my own game. And that's when I feel like I've done the right thing. And then I start thinking about how to monetize it. However, recently, because to be honest, let's just say the word is challenging. Things have become challenging for me. So now I think a lot more about money, which is kind of sad. And so I'm not really thinking, okay, how can I make a game to make money? But I am thinking, whatever I choose to do, when I make that game, I want to have already sort of like said, these are the things I can't do because there's no good way to monetize it. So make a game I like, still follow the 75% of the time rule that I just said there, but only within a category of things that I have a way of monetizing in a reasonable way.
I want to throw this out there, and I'm just going to throw the grenade in the room, and it goes along with everything that we're talking about, and I think that it's irresponsible to create something that's unsustainable, right? So if Eric creates Questlord and everybody loves it, but the maintenance and the development of it, continued development of it, is crushing him, and he can't continue it, then he's essentially giving them something that they can't have. And I'm using that as an example. I don't know about Eric's situation. I'm just saying, you see what I'm saying? Having something that you cannot sustain, that you can't economically continue with, is irresponsible, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point. It's like I want to deliver on it and give them something I can. That's another reason why I don't really. I don't know. I don't really haven't done really episodic content or episodal content. I don't know if it's episodic or episodal.
Episodic.
You're right. Yeah. But I don't want to, do something like that at this point. There's a lot more you can think of besides like monetization to get something that's actually makes money. Like you can think of like a cute idea and deliver on that idea with the artwork in a way where it'll create its own legs.
Oh yeah, you could like take Questlord for example, and this is the same thing with music, right? Bands make money when they go on tour. They make money when they sell T-shirts. They make money when they, well, I don't know if anybody ever sells CDs anymore, but they make money when they sell something, right? And their music gets people in the door. So yeah, you could do a Questlord game and then have plush dolls and T-shirts and
flash that beer koozie.
Right?
Okay,
the beer koozie.
Ask you this thing,
but actually, that's not even what I was getting at.
Oh.
But it's a good point. But a lot of games, they get their legs not really from their financial model so much as what the actual game is. Like, what is the game? I mean, you can think of all kinds of cool. Well, I'll offer coins. I'll offer gems. That'll make people want to play and get gems, and then with the gems they can cash in on the coin. But what is the game?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm expanding. I want to expand on what Eric's talking about because I mean, we all know we're all experienced developers here to one extent or another, But when you're making something, that's why when we're looking at the ones and the zeros, when we're looking at the squares, triangles, and the shapes, the touch events, the actual, the dispatches, we're looking at the timers and things like that. We're seeing the skeleton behind the body that people are actually interested in dealing with. So we know right? We're on the back end saying what is going to make me money out of this skeleton. On the front end, people looking at it through Google Play or iTunes, Windows Phone, whatever, they're going to be like, this is a real sexy body that I want to mess around with. This is something that I want to play with on my phone, on my desktop. You see what I'm saying? They don't look at the skeleton that you created behind it. They don't look at, wow, this is really cool muscle that you made here. You know what I mean? They don't realize that that's
a fun
way
game
you're
to
going to
play.
make money.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's either a fun game to play or it's not. They really don't care about.
You need to use my analogy. Use my analogy, Chad.
I don't know.
Can I jump in and clarify
the analogy.
I just need to clarify something because I think a couple of you have heard things a little bit wrongly. One, I'm not asking these questions because I think that having coins or not having coins is a motivator. I'm not thinking of it in terms of how do I get people to play or want to play my game. What I'm asking this question for is because I've explored a gamut of ways of monetizing things, and I've realized that within my abilities, there are only certain kinds of games that I can make, that I can even hope to be able to make, regardless of monetization. And within that range of things, I need to be able to select a game that I can make, that I enjoy making, that I wish to continue playing after I've made it, which is a good sign that it's a good game, at least for people like me. But it's a non-starter if after all that there's no reasonable way for me to monetize it. So I have to keep in mind at the very beginning, does it make sense to go down this path? And so that's why I'm asking these questions.
Well, I mean, are you... Well, then we're talking... Sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
I would say no. Absolutely not. Get out of it quick. I mean, I know that's kind of a bummer and everything, but with Questlord, I told everyone that I hope to make $100, and I really in my mind I was hoping to make a couple thousand, and it kind of blew up into like like a starting teacher salary. But yeah, if your goal is to make money, and what's holding you back is you don't know the game that's going to make you the cash in, I'd get out of it.
I mean, it's just a hard way to get...
Do you really enjoy making games? I
guess I'm not really stating that correctly. You're hearing exactly the opposite of what I'm saying.
Well, here's what I'm saying, and here's where I think we're misconstruing. This is what I'm saying. This is what I think Eric and I are hearing, is that we all want money. We all want to be making money so we can pay the rent, keep the lights on. Absolutely, without a doubt. That we can all agree on. Where I think the schism is taking place is that some people, some developers, not just Ed, you're not the only one, and you might not even be in this group that we're talking about here, so because I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, but it's like, they're looking at it the opposite way. It's like, okay, I want money. What is going to make me that money? Instead of saying, this is a game that people will like, and when they like it, they will pay for it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like they're going, a lot of devs, and you see it in the forums all the time, you got people with like 10 posts or less under their belt. They're saying, hey, does anybody know the best way to get ads into this game? And I know post count doesn't necessarily denote experience, of a developer. So don't get me wrong there. I'm just saying, like, they're putting the cart before the horse. They, their physics aren't working. They've got a lot of questions about, like I said, event runtimes and using Composer correctly.
Yeah, it's like step one is build a game to insert ads into.
Right, exactly. They want the ads to work above everything because in their mind, it's like if the ads are working, that is going to be my biggest hurdle to making enough money to keep working on this game. So that's where I think Eric and I are misconstruing what you're saying. You're not saying that that's not your first. You're not looking at the market and saying, okay, I need to make $20,000 with this project. What monetization options are going to get me to that $20,000? You're not thinking that.
So if making
Eric's hearing me entirely wrong. Go ahead, Charles, and then I'll talk.
So if making money is your sole focus, I think is what you're saying, then you should just make casino apps, right? But if your focus is on creating a game that you like to play and that others like to play, then at some point the monetization opportunities will present themselves because you'll have plenty of people playing it, and you'll just have to figure out where
it's like this.
where
It's like
insert
this,
the dollar
Charles.
the button.
Yeah, I don't want to
also-
monologue, but it's like this. Like Charles, like Eric had a mindset when he went out to make Questlord. He wanted to make $100. He was in his mind, you know, in his heart of hearts, whatever you want to say, wanted it to be a couple thousand. But when he was looking at it, he was like, okay, this is a story-driven, first-person RPG with pixel art graphics and, you know, chiptune music, right? What is the market for that? That market is specific. You're not going to find, like, you know, the 16, 15, 14-year-old, you know, girls that are playing, you know, Candy Crush and things like that, downloading Questlord, generally speaking. Okay, that's an umbrella term, I realize, but still, you know, that's that. So he's like, okay, making it free, that's not in my best interest for this particular niche game. It's niche. I think we can all agree. So he was like, look, what's my best way to do it? I'm going to charge. Okay, I'm going to try to get up through the RPG list, you know, the actual paid app list. Try to break into the top 10. Once you're in the top 10, boom, that's visibility. You know, if you're in the top 6 or something like that on the old version of Google Play, right, Eric? I think, right, whatever. So, and then you get more visibility, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what he was looking at as far as that is concerned. And then he started making that game, right? So he wasn't looking at, like, go ahead, Eric, sorry. I think he's concurring.
Muted.
You're muted still, Eric. There you go. Oh, he's going back and forth. I think he's agreeing. I'm going to assume he's agreeing. He's not getting angry.
I thought I heard Eric say, and I may be putting words in your mouth, Eric. You're unmuted, so you can respond anytime. I thought I heard you say that you started off wanting to make the game, and you hoped you'd make $100, but that wasn't your motivation. Your motivation was to make the game.
Right, the game was going to be made, I think is what Eric is saying.
Yeah, I mean that has to be the if you're doing this like in an indie kind of way, that kind of has to be the motivation.
Right.
I mean,
and Ed, I think this is what's crazy about the marketplace as far as apps and stuff like that is concerned. Like, look at Eric. Eric is an amazing young man. Look at how many screens he's got behind him. Look at all those crazy toys and whatnot. The people that play Questlord know what Eric looks like. Eric isn't only selling Questlord, he's kind of selling himself. Now with Patreon,
sure.
I don't think you're selling yourself as much as you are selling what you're offering. Now when it comes to like making money off of a game, you see all these indies. I follow a ton of indie developers on Twitter. They're constantly, you know, throwing up pictures on the gram, as the kids call it. They call it the gram now. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that until I watched a Vine video a little while ago. But anyway, they're putting pictures up on Instagram. They're putting all kinds of crazy, you know, social media posts and pictures of themselves in it. They're like selling themselves now, which scares the hell out of me because I don't want anybody to know what I look like. But I have to like get over that hurdle. You have to be able to like, you know, be the aspiring indie. You know what I mean? To be that guy that. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, that's one thing that I like. I did a lot and I enjoyed it. And I went out to Dallas even and worked with Charles and talked about Corona in one of his Dallas groups out there, and you know that was part of a long thing I did when I called it guerrilla marketing. You know, I targeted a lot of forums and groups and stuff that were specific to my game's genre, and I kind of like let them know who I was before I landed. You know, I think that's really important. I think it's really good. It's really important to go out and find your target audience. I mean, because none of this really matters. I don't know if any of you guys realize how many free app downloads you need to have to make money with ads these days.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
The number's going higher and higher and higher.
Yes.
And to the point where you buy users now.
Exactly. And Eric,
and you have to, you know, spend millions of dollars a day to buy users. And
it's astronomical. It's insane. And I mean, Ed, to your point, like the game that, you know, Segreta, I just came out with that. I was going to make that game. I was excited about it. You know, it was something that I really wanted to do with Corona specifically. I wanted to bring it to market. I thought it had legs. I went the opposite way of Eric pretty much. I went in-app purchases free, you know, trying to actually boost that app download. Completely wrong way. I think I made $20 off of that. You know what I mean? It's at like what? I think 3,000 downloads all told from all the app stores. I mean, that's nothing. People play it, sure, but I mean, maybe they don't. Who knows? You you know, it might just be a blip. I'm looking at usage. It's not really super high or anything, but I'm getting downloads and all that, but nobody's really wanting to buy the IAP. Why is that? Is it not a fun game to play? Is it super buggy and I'm seeing it? Are there problems with making sure people know about the IAP? Like, I could go bald again trying to figure out why I wasn't able to monetize it accurately or appropriately, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is I totally hear you. If I'm not making money on it, I got to find either a way to make money on it or, you know, cut bait and bounce. And like when you're bringing a game out, when I was making that game, I thought free is the way to go 100%. I was like, I'm going to sell, you know, you can collect money in the game. I think I was going to be able to build up a player base, and they would be interested in actually wanting to buy, you know, coins to buy items. Easy, you know, the simplest way to you actually go through it. Nobody did. What are you going to do? You know, I've got to throw out that model and go with something else. I don't know if there's a silver bullet. And it always, I wish I had one, because then I'd be rich. But I mean, when you're talking about, you know, do you guys like tokens or do you like coins? Like, nobody likes anything. Like, I don't think anybody likes anything specifically one way or another. I mean, you might as well just go with what you think will work.
No, I didn't ask you personally. I asked you intellectually, but that's okay. I understand that all of us personally are probably like, no, I don't like coins, I don't like in-app purchases, and I don't like ads. Take all that stuff and flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to buy apps right out. You know, but there are games that I played like Clash of Clans. You know, like I on Clash of Clans, and I think I saw this right up the other day that says no one revenue model fits every game, right? Because in Clash of Clans, I've purchased on a number of occasions. I've purchased gems, which to me, trading real money for digital digital real money for digital goods is crazy, right? That's crazy town for me. But I've done it on occasion for Clash of Clans. Boom Beach, which is pretty much the same game mechanics, same game maker. I have purchased nothing ever. But I still play both games probably at least once every day, right before I go to bed. So I don't think that you can say, well, it's going to work. It's going to work both ways.
But it's funny.
I wish I had an intellectual answer for you, Ed. Like,
no, that's okay. You know what? You guys have given me plenty of stuff to think about here, and I've been waiting to interject. I feel like it's now 7:15, and I've monopolized this discussion a little bit previously with some other stuff, and now this.
And we don't talk about you enough.
Two topics. We came in with two topics. One was multiplayer servers, and the other one was what was the one you?
Did we cover multiplayer servers?
We did not.
Talk about it at all.
We didn't even talk about that.
No, we
And
didn't.
the other
really
one
talk about
Alex brought up, which was what? I'm looking for it now.
No, we were just talking about monetizing. I don't think
you had but
physics
he's talking about topics earlier in the day.
In the email.
Suggested by email prior.
Yeah.
There was one which was a deterministic physics engine multiplayer game, and then Alex's was instant replay, I believe.
Which I think is a killer feature. I want to bookend this monetization conversation.
We can definitely talk about it again, but I just don't want to. I already talk a lot on the Corona Geek. I don't want to be the guy who talks a lot on this show too, unless I'm actually, you know what I'm saying?
I am the man who talks a lot on this show, Ed. You don't need to worry about it.
It'd be Ed's therapy. Lay down on the couch, Ed.
Use one of those two topics and tear it up a little bit.
You got to feed Ed and psychoanalyze Ed. I got it. Well, Ed, I mean, as far as everybody on the thread, I mean, if we had that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so hard to know what makes money. It's close to impossible. And like.
I'm falling off the screen. I thought we were going to stop talking about money.
He's going away. But look, I think that working hard is the best way to make that money. That's what I'm saying. You put your heart into it. People know that you worked hard on it. They can see the love behind that app. I'll put it to you like that. That's what I think.
And one thing I would add to that is find other people to like what you're doing before you release it. Like, get those people to be your evangelizers. You know, I had a lot of people that were very interested in what I was doing and wanted to check it out. And after they plunked, $1.99 in it, they weren't really what do you call it? Eager to be like, generally nice about it.
Yeah, I mean, doing things like this is the best way to do it, Ed. 'Cause I mean, like, you're putting out, Ed, Alex, I'm going to put out a game, right? How am I going to make contact? Eric knows me, Jason knows me, you know me, Charles knows me. But I mean, the best way to make sure that people know what I'm going to make isn't going to steal their credit card information. It's for them to know that I'm a real person and I'm making something that I care about. I think that's most important.
It's so cool too. I mean, speaking sort of to Eric's thing, I mean, this is a very, very micro example of this. But so I think we talked about this last week briefly. I'm working on a reboot of an old game called Chiral, and it's still in development. Maybe, hopefully, this fall it'll be ready. Like, it's working. It's not polished. It's not ready. And so, but I was like, I want to get out ahead of this. I want to try and join a couple of game developer forums. Just let people know, hey, this is what I'm working on. You can sign up for. So I set up like a MailChimp list and a simple website and a Facebook page. And this is not going to help me pay the rent with it, but it was so gratifying the first time this one guy, completely, organically found my Facebook page, commented like, "Holy crap, I love this game, please make this." And I think I've put out like a couple of posts from that Facebook account over the last month or two, and every time I do, I get a like from him and like a yay, like this. But it's so gratifying. It's so awesome.
That's exactly what you do. That's exactly what you do. You got to find your target audience and get them talking about it and get them excited about it. And you can go to as many other developers as you want. But developers, while they'll give you a lot of support, I found out that they're not the best evangelizers as much as a company. So whatever game that you do make, find out like who do you imagine playing it, and everyone in the world doesn't count. You can't use that answer.
If you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody.
Exactly.
I will say this though. I think this goes back to what you were originally getting at, Ed. So for example, with me making that game, I'm making it because I love that game and I like playing it. But I loved playing a lot of games. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's an infinite number of potential projects I can pick. And part of the reason I picked that game is a couple of reasons. A, I liked it and I think it'd be a fun game. B, there's nothing exactly like it on an iPad right now, and I think it's exceptionally well suited to being played on a tablet in particular. But C, putting my sort of businessy hat on, I said there's a niche market for this. There are people who gamed on their Macintoshes back in the OS 7 and OS 8 days. And if I can find them, if I can reach them, if they owned a Mac in the 90s, the odds are very good they own an iPad or an iPhone now. And if I can reach those guys and say, hey, remember this game that you really liked? Now you can play it on the subway or whatever on your iPad, and it's going to be updated, but, and I think there's an audience there. And, that's not a cynical thing, but it's just, I think, approaching it smartly. It's what makes me go, that's the one of the 10 projects I've got going in my head at any one time. That's the reason I'm going to do this one.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm pretty much done.
No, I'm sorry. It's just a gap in Hangout. I want to throw out this question. It's highly relevant. Okay, and Eric, I want you to throw in on this because you have been doing games for a long time. Why are more classic games not remade? I don't know if I said that correctly. Why are there not more remakes of classic games?
Yeah, that's a good question.
For example, Retronauts. This is Jason. This is tying into something you shared earlier. There was Monkey Island. The Retronauts interviewed the developer of Monkey Island, which I never played this game, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Never played Monkey Island. There's a great iOS remake of that.
And I just wonder why there's not more remakes of these classic games, because I think we all agree that we enjoyed them. We all agree that they were at their core they're the basics of fun, but somehow they've been they got shelved for whatever reason, and now we're onto this newer whatever, and then but there's still all this gold underneath the surface. It's already been mined. It's already been
I think for a successful game, a lot of it's just legal stuff. For example, there have been people that go, "Why don't they remake all these great old LucasArts games?" It's like, well, because LucasArts was bought by Disney, and Disney, you have to convince Disney to make that game at this point because Disney isn't gonna license it. That's just not their game. They don't do that. You know what I mean? So it's, I think, if for a very successful old game, there's huge legal hurdles.
I'm going to be cynical in my answer. My cynical answer is the games that we remember so fondly aren't nearly as much fun to play as we think they were.
No, Ed. I think the thing is that the games that we enjoyed playing, I mean, I think that they're fun for us, but we're not selling to us anymore, right? Like, if we're selling to us, are we gonna make any money? I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. So, I mean, not that Flappy Bird is a reproducible phenomenon.
Flappy Bird to
sacrilege.
Not that it's a reproducible phenomenon, but it does kind of illustrate this fact that a very simple core mechanic, something that's very old school, kind of like you got to start the level all over again. It's extremely hard. All those types of basics do resonate with people because people do play those games, and out of that has popped up a whole genre of one-touch type games that have all done very well.
You know why Flappy Bird sat lonely for 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Until it was picked up by PewDiePie. I mean, if it was never picked up by him, it just would have sat lonely for ages.
Was that the origin of it? It was a YouTube thing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the game was out for 6 months. It did absolutely nothing. I don't know if you know who PewDiePie is, but he does.
Yeah.
He's
like the number one YouTuber.
Yeah. And he played the game and made fun of it. And he did a hilarious job of making fun of how hard it was. And then all his fans, downloaded it for free.
And then it shoots up the charts, and then it starts.
Yeah.
Right.
But on the heels of that is all these one-touch.
Throwing shit at the wall until he found something that sticked. I mean, all of it.
Throw that much at the wall, though.
But I think that was a marketing problem, though, right? It was a marketing problem in that people had to know about it, but once they knew about it, people played it like crazy. And now out of that is all these one-touch games that people are playing like crazy.
Exactly. And, a lot of people, just make bad games. And no marketing's going to help them at all. They're just making really bad games. But if you want thousands and thousands and thousands of eyeballs on your stuff, and you're going through iOS, I never hear anyone from Corona talk much about Touch Arcade. Hardly anyone talks about Touch Arcade. And Touch Arcade is like the most fantastic place to post anything about what you're making. I mean, you want to find go post on Touch Arcade and be like, here's a game in the upcoming game section. I mean, you'll learn a lot, though. You'll learn the hard way. If your game sucks and if you're not that good, you're going to find out really quick that no monetization is going to make your game and your game's presentation better. I
like how you said something and then you came back to monetization. That's awesome.
We're going at it the other way. We're talking about the other way.
It's kind of true, because I've been in this for a while, and there was a time when everyone on Corona said paid games are dead. Paid games are dead. You're not going to make any money on paid games. You've got to do in-app purchases and free. And then that changed to paid game or free to play with in-app purchases is dead. You got to add ads. You got to add ads. And it was just like, no one was really taking it on a case-by-case basis. And if you think of it on more of a case-by-case basis, it's a lot different. You can actually get it. You can actually find a lot of people, and it all comes through marketing and how you get your product in front of as many people as possible.
And let's not forget that a game that people want to play and share with others is marketing as well, right? So the game that, like we were talking about earlier, a game that people like it's a self-marketing game.
Yeah, well, to a degree, yeah, it is. I mean, look at some of the wacky games. There's this whole genre of making just weird, crazy crap. Like best game ever, 420 Blaze It. You ever play that one?
No.
I mean, that was huge.
I don't know anything about that game.
It's something. What isn't it called? Game of the Year, 420 Blaze It.
Nope.
It's just wacky. And that was made by one of the guys from the Crossy Road team. but there's another game called Goat Simulator.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen Goat Simulator? That game's just crazy weird. It's crazy weird.
The way it was described to me was it's Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but you're a goat.
Yeah, kind of. It's more like Grand Theft Auto, but you're a goat, I think, with no HUDs. But if you gather all the humans into that one mountain that has the big pentagram, do that. No spoilers.
I haven't actually played the game, to be fair. I saw like a video of it, and I sort of know about it.
And if you took that game to a marketing team, they'd be like, "No way, this is terrible." But it grew on its own following. Goat Simulator grew on its own following.
And there's also the weird, random universe stuff there too, because there's probably 10 teams that were developing some weird game that they saw reflected in Goat Simulator and went, why isn't that us? And it's like, you know what? Because there's a certain element of.
There's a certain element of getting out there and finding your fans, and that's what they did. Man. They found their fans. They hang out with a weird crowd, and it's.
In that Retronauts interview. Basically, the guy was saying the same thing. He says, I looked around at games that were selling well, and they were fantasy games. And he says, I've never been a fantasy guy. I don't really care about fantasy genre. I really don't. That wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
But he did see a commonality in something that he could get behind, which were pirates. So get your Treasure Island kind of theme, stuff like that. And so he went down that road of creating something that he would be interested in, that would be appealing to an audience, and then out of that came this
Monkey Island. And the guy in this case is Ron Gilbert, so he was one of the leads behind Maniac Mansion, and I think he wrote the Scum engine that a bunch of games since then were built on. And then he did Monkey Island, and then he went off on his own. More recently, he did a great game that was released for PC first, and then eventually made its way to mobile, called The Cave, which is a cool. It keeps a lot of. You can see its roots in some of his older games, but I think it's evolved. It's not like a rehash of old things, but I'm just a fan, so I'm gonna be inclined to like anything that he and Tim Schafer put out. But
it's a good point though, that if you aren't into that thing, you're probably not going to do well in it. It's very hard to do, right? Because it's not your thing. But if you are into that thing, then you're going to jump out of bed every morning thinking about that thing.
And Ed, I think, and this is why this is such a good topic, and why, Ed, you don't feel bad. Like, I feel like you feel bad about this. What I'm saying is this: you're talking about monetization without talking about theme. But or maybe that's what we're hearing incorrectly about what you're saying. That's what we're hearing wrong, I think.
But the topic energized the panel, so don't feel bad about it.
That's what I'm saying. Don't feel bad. It's a good topic. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're talking about, all this conversation is leading toward monetizing a theme. But what we heard, I think, and I heard incorrectly, is that you were talking about monetization and then painting a theme over top, which is not. Would you agree that's not what you're saying?
It's like no negative there.
Now I'm doing it. First Eric was cutting himself off. Now I'm doing it. Okay. Eric's like, shut up. But it's true. Eric was clicking on his mic a couple times. So, both. I think both were right. You know what? I just wanted to say that it's interesting. I've been rewinding what you guys are saying to me as I'm listening to you talk more and more. And Eric has got a point. I have fallen into this trap where you see a lot of new developers go, whereas I used to say to new developers, just make it because you want to make the game. That's got to be your number one motivation. If you're making it for another reason, then you're making it for the wrong reason. But then, over the last year or so, where I've started to have to think more and more about money, then my brain has started to say, yes, okay, I want to make money.
Yeah. In a related field.
Hold on, Charles. Hold on. Are we having personal epiphanies on the Corona Geek After Dark right now? This is seminal. Everybody should be watching this.
And feel free to say no if this is too weird and personal a question. But am I in the minority on this panel in that, as of yet, I got the day job. Like, I would love to make this my 9 to 5, but it's not yet. out of primarily financial concerns. I've got a family, and and if someday I can responsibly make that jump, I look forward to that day. But am I in the minority or the majority with that? If people are comfortable sharing, I don't want to.
I have a day job. Not sure if that helps you.
You guys go first.
Steven, what do you do during the day? Or do you just sit in that basement getting the light shining on your face?
My day job is selling another product. so it's the same thing, but it's something else.
Yeah.
All kinds of restraint not talking about it here.
Yeah, well, I definitely do not make my living by the games that I have produced.
Yeah, my day job is not making games.
I do not have a day job.
But I no longer have.
I have plenty of things that I do to not have to go into that office.
Eric's the only one that has one hat, and he doesn't even only have that one hat. You know what I mean? He's got the marketing hat, he's got the developer hat, he's got the banking hat. You know what I mean? He's got the running to the groceries and getting Jolt Cola hat.
You can still find Jolt Cola?
I would definitely be in the minority of, like, I do full-time game dev with my game, I think, but and I don't do contracting. That's also what I mean to say about it. I'm working on one app, and that's what's going to pay the bills, and that's been like the risky gamble that I've been on for like 4 years. I've never walked away from the table yet, but I'm not really at a point where I can walk away from the table happy, because I'm still making, I got Quest Sword 2 to come out, but Quest Sword 2 is probably going to be a lot like Quest Sword 1. I really hope I make $200. Really do.
I hope you make more than $200, to be honest.
Any second, though, I mean, I've seen colossal failures, in the video game industry, and I don't think there's any shame in having a second job and working the game at all. I think though that, like, you can tell when a game is something that's really like that someone made it and they loved it, and they really did love it. And like Sagrada, that game, you can tell that he really loved it when he made it, and it's great that way. And it's true. That game's all. If you played his game, you played Alex's game. It's great. It's got cupcakes in the dungeon. My wife was freaking out about that.
Cupcake Dungeon. That's the sequel right there. It's going to be good times.
Loved that.
But I started on Corona wanting to make that game. I wanted to do something cross-platform. I wanted it to be roguelike. I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be portrait, and I wanted it to be cute, and I wanted it to have a female protagonist. I mean, that was what I was looking at. I thought that I tried to target a market. I don't think I hit it, and that's that. I gotta retrench and go back. Talking to what Eric is saying, I do contract work. I think a lot of Jason, you work wherever it is you work at your whatever it is you do.
I work IT for an art gallery.
Exactly. You just look,
but I have contract work as well, and that's fleshed out, which gets in the way of my personal projects. But for me, having a day job that isn't app development, I consider that a step in the right direction, because it's like, even though it's not a personal project, it's like, hey, this is me doing something that I really love. I'm becoming a better developer by doing it, and I'm getting paid for it too. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, totally. Yes, absolutely.
So on a related field, right? Not related field, as in like the same, a different field, I guess, than app development. There's this guy, Cliff Ravencraft from podcast Answer Man, and in this episode he posted just yesterday, he talks about building an audience, building a relationship with your existing audience. And one of the things that he talks about is this idea that some people start out thinking, how do I get to the end goal? And his thing is, no, you need to build the audience and talk to those people, like talk to them because you want to talk to them, not because you want to grow and build your audience and have this big empire, right? So it's again, it's kind of like the game. You want to build the game because you want to build the game. You want to get a quality game, and you want people to enjoy it, and you will be able to monetize it because lots of people will play it. So his whole thing is, like, you will build the audience because you really enjoy what you're doing and you like talking with people. And one of the things he said in the thing was like, some people come at it like, hey, I've been podcasting for a while and I only have 300 people listening to my podcast. And he's like, are you kidding me? If you had 300 people in a room, that would be a lot of people, right? So he's like, you need to respect that audience and think about that audience and talk to that audience and grow it that way, and not just think about the numbers of, hey, how can I get to 10,000 people? So it's a good listen if you can give it some time.
I'm shaking my head instead of saying yeah, just to keep the
SMHing over there, Ed. Just SMHing.
Say what?
I don't even know what you talk about sometimes, Alex. Well, you like to hear hip lingo just goes right over my head.
I think I'm the youngest person on here.
Half the time where I'm at, I'm listening to what everybody's saying, and I'm over on Urban Dictionary going, what did Alex just say?
I think I'm the youngest person on here, which is crazy because I am old. I'm an old man, which is why it's so bizarre.
You're not old, man. You just have an old soul.
I do.
Yeah, you're old.
Soul. I am old, right? I feel like you guys saw me. I'm an old man with my glasses and my tea. It's not good. But I mean, yes, you got to engage. It's all about engagement of audience. I mean, you could throw a lot of things at the wall, and you could just throw pickles and see if they stick, and if they don't, and then you're making money, or maybe you're not. But right, you're engaging your audience, Charles. Exactly.
Did you just call us all pickle throwers?
That's a Wayne's World reference, remember where there were pickles?
Wow, I totally missed that.
I didn't. I gotta go back and watch Wayne's World.
I had to prove I was old.
No worries.
Pickle throwers. Okay, go and register the domain name right now.
Death of a pickle thrower. Okay, you know what? Maybe I don't want.
Listen, guys. I think this. I want to definitely talk about the forum post that Ed brought up because they're awesome. I'm gonna put a link in the chat.
Just the replay?
No, his thing about the server implementation. I'm gonna put a link in the chat.
I'm more excited about the replay thing.
Oh, we can talk about both for sure. I'm going to put a link in the chat. It's an article that is an interview of one of the top Vine stars, okay, that now lives in Hollywood. Everybody should read it. It is intensely interesting. It really actually talks a lot about monetization, and I think it will give a lot of insight into what we're talking about here. Now let's talk about physics and server-based implementation.
You totally confused me there for a second.
Just as a PSA, picklethrower.com is available. If you'd like to secure that, you can do so through your registrar or choice.
Oh, no, I just registered it. It's gone.
Yeah, Vine Star.
What's that?
It's a Vine Star.
Yeah. What's a Vine star?
Yeah.
You guys don't know Vine?
I'm you have to miss that link because a coworker of mine was telling me how his son, his neighbor's son, is apparently some big Vine star, and I'm wondering if it's the same guy because he's from New Jersey, but now he's living out in California, and he's like, it's weird. I'm curious to see if it's the same guy because it's how do you get famous by posting?
There are some
videos.
Really funny people on Vine. Some really creative, very funny people. It's amazing.
They are. It's definitely true. There are definitely some creative people. I'm going to send you this link. Read it. It'll tell you all you need to know about Vine stars, and why it is that anybody gives a shit about them.
Charles, I have to say, I always like your domain search. It's available. The one that you put up a couple of weeks ago, I think, which I just loved, was Big Studio, but Big STUD. It could be read so many different ways, which I really loved.
Did you guys see that one? It was Big Studio.
Big Stud.
Big Stud.
Big.io. That's just wrong.
Yeah. Imagine handing that business card out at parties.
Get your mind out of the gutter. I see it. Yeah.
Michael put in the. I'm going to coax Michael into unmuting his microphone because he put about not buying from GoDaddy, and I can think of a few possible reasons, but I'm curious what your particular aversion to them as a registrar is.
I actually had a few domains through them for a few years. I dropped them when they were supporting, was it SOPA or PIPA, one of the legislations? Yeah, they were big behind that, so I dropped them and didn't want anyone giving them their business.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think over the years they've always been
The picture class.
Very focused on getting you to buy things you don't need.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, which it kind of sucks.
Does anyone still use network solutions? I'm against network solutions. So they had a horrible experience back in the 90s, but back then they were who you went with.
You gotta let that go.
I do, but you know what it is? And I don't even think it was them. I think it was just early in the whole process.
In '73, when Carter was in office.
Oh, man.
That makes me wonder, like, how do you guys do websites? I'm going to be coming up to that soon. I mean, you do the same. Like, what do you do?
What do you mean? What do you do?
I mean,
I'm all over that topic. What do you mean? What do you do?
Like content management or
product specific one?
Yeah, it's like I have a thing like DreamHost. I guess that's like GoDaddy or whatever. I use like DreamHost. I've got .coms and stuff. I mean, how do you guys put together your websites? Do you use like a prepackaged templates, or do you code all HTML up in your head?
But probably not
WordPress.
To answer that question.
WordPress.
I'm a fan of WordPress. When I did the site for Social Poetry, I paid $8 or whatever and bought a landing page, which for my needs worked very nicely and was customizable. So I was pretty happy with that. I will say I have a hosting package on one domain, which is jasonschroeder.com, and just to save money, I'll buy .coms and I redirect them to subdomains on that. So socialpoetryapp.com redirects to socialpoetry.jasonschroeder.com. And that way I'm only paying for one hosting package, which helps keep costs low.
Pay for two. Like you can hook up like that a different way.
I think it depends. I've used the same sort of nothing's mom and pop on the internet, but as close to mom and pop as you get hosting package for J, and I've had them forever. Yeah. And they don't. For them, I would need to get a separate package.
And it's going to depend. It's going to depend. There's really three. Well, okay. Let's just talk about the three hosting. There's shared hosting, right? Which is the Siri just went crazy. There's a shared hosting, which is like you're saying the commodity hosting, the $5 a month or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. There's the VPS, virtual private server, which is kind of a virtualized server where you're still in a shared environment, but instead of being on a server with 1,000 of your closest friends, you're only on a server with 20 of your closest friends. And then there's dedicated, and then of course there's cloud. So there's a fourth, but
you could always get a static IP from your ISP and set up a home server if you're really brave.
You could yeah, but there's trust me, I've done co-located, I've done home servers, I've done right now I've got my own dedicated server. If you want something that's kind of like cloud based, you can either do DigitalOcean or I don't know if you guys have seen Cloudways. Cloudways is basically like a front end, like think of cPanel. I don't know if you're familiar with cPanel. It's like a cPanel for cloud. It's like the GUI interface for Amazon, DigitalOcean, and I can't remember the other one, whatever the other popular cloud solution is. But those guys do really well, and so you can kind of push buttons and set up WordPress and set up your stuff.
I will speak highly of Microsoft Azure. I've used them for quite a bit, and I've been impressed. Like them.
As Azure, you want to do Azure? You used them before?
What do I use them for, or do I use?
Is that what you're saying? You're saying Azure? You like them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Eric, how much website do you need behind your website? Is it one page? Is it a landing page and then a place for like screenshots? What are we talking about? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Well, it's weird because it's not really like that so much anymore because everything's changed so much. It's like one of the most important things for websites are them to be able to register on mobile devices. And I know there's some JavaScript you can throw in that'll say what device the person is on, so you can call an alternative page that's not on a computer.
No, you want something that's mobile responsive that fits according to the size of the screen. right?
Yeah, you're probably better off handling that in like CSS.
Yeah, because devices can report themselves incorrectly, and sometimes, depending on the browsers, they don't pick it up correctly and stuff like that. It's better to do the mobile responsive.
Yeah.
That's the prevailing wisdom of the modern day.
I'm just trying to drill down more into your question, though.
Yeah, right. So there's definitely some specifics there. I mean, and that's why I was bringing up the different tiers of hosting, right? Because if you have a website that gets 500 visitors a month, you can do commodity hosting. But if you have somebody that gets 100,000 visitors a month, it's going to crash that commodity server.
Yeah, I usually run on like a virtual server, private network. No, it's a VSP, VPS or something like that.
Yeah, VPS, yeah.
And I can crank it up when times are going to be more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can increase the memory or the CPU resources.
And I can do that on kind of like a need-to basis. So I'm probably going to have to do that for like a couple weeks to a month or two when I first release, hopefully. Right. But the main thing is I need to put a new image on everything. I need to redo my company name, my company site, I need to redo. I need to put up the Questore 2 site. I need to put up a lot of sites, and this is like a hat I hate putting on.
So two questions, Eric.
Sounds like I'm probably going to end up going to, what is it? Not Audio Jungle, but
the Theme Forest.
Theme Forest, that's it. Theme Forest is a great place to go. It's one of those Envato groups out in Australia.
Yeah, they're great. If you're interested, take a look at Salient. There's a theme on Theme Forest called Salient.
Okay.
That it does mobile responsive, and it has a built-in content builder. So like when in WordPress, when you put in your blog post or your page content, you just have that box to put everything in. But with a content builder, you can say, hey, I want that box to have, I want to be 3 columns, right? I want to put in different buy buttons. I want to do different things, and it helps you build those things. So
that's cool.
Wow, this thing has 35,000 sales.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Yeah. So I use it for all my client sites and stuff like that. It's good stuff.
So I'm looking for. Thanks.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And let me know if you need help with it. I mean, I already kind of play with it and stuff, so I know.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like I'm already in that space.
Right. You use the regular license?
Yep.
Jeez, yeah, I can see why the extended license is $2,900.
Ooh. Yeah, it's easier just to buy a license for each thing.
All right.
Right. You don't want to. I mean, like if you're going to do reselling, but I like for each client to have their own license.
Sure.
Because I get hit by a bus, or they decide they want to, throw me out in the street, then they have their own.
Quit jumping out in front of buses, Charles.
I don't like, when developers like kind of wrap you up and make you beholden to them. I don't like that.
Nice.
It might just be a fun little hug. Wrap you up in a nice hug.
Wrap you up in a nice hug. Well, I hate that. I don't want to screw anybody over.
You don't want to hug. You want to be bristly like your soy burgers. Got it.
Like my soy burgers.
Look at tying it all up. Back to
I know it. All the way back to the beginning of the show.
Dog. That's how I get down. That's what I bring. It's the flavor that I bring to this here vlog.
I'll say something hip about.
I'm not hip. That's the problem. Like if it's an actual hip person watch this, they'd be like, man, this dude don't know nothing.
I think Alex, you need to come up with a random phrase app, right? So that the old folks can it'll just randomly say something, and they can say it, and then it'll be sort of contextually appropriate.
I keep messing around with the idea of making an app where it like you can just you're in a conversation and somebody says something dumb or cool or funny or whatever, and you pull out your phone. You've got a profile's worth in this app of GIFs. You pull up the GIF that you want to show them, and you just slide your phone over to them, and that's the response GIF, like just straight up immediate response GIF. My concern with that app is that if you put a GIF on there that's like making fun of the person and slide it over to them, and they look at it, they'll just smash your phone on the ground. So I need to find a better way to maybe flick the GIF over to them. I don't know. That's a freebie. It's a freebie for all the listeners right there. I think that's what likes.
Flick the GIF.
You can monetize that ad right there. You can monetize the hell out of that. You can buy GIFs. You can buy the ability to make your own GIFs. All kinds of stuff.
I tell you what. Here's a.
I don't want to hear the word monetize anymore during this hangout. You're all fired.
When you're talking about ideas that you want to give out to the world, the idea that I have is to keep the change module at the soda machine. So like whoever's been in a work environment where they take their dollar to the machine and they put it in the machine, and then it says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make change right now, so you can't. You have to have exact change." And I'm like, just keep the whole freaking dollar and give me the soda, right? I don't drink sodas anymore, but at the time that was my thing. Like, just give it to me. I don't care if you can't give me 15 cents back. Yeah. Just give me the damn soda.
You say it, and I have this vision of you somewhere at a dusty, what do you call it, gas station out somewhere in the desert, and your body is draped up against the machine, and you can see you just you're shoving the dollar back.
It's not even Coke or Pepsi, it's RC Cola.
Just give it to me. It's worse than that, it's Tab.
You're just you want Tab. That cheer wine. I know you're drinking cheer wine, Charles.
My dollar. Written on the dollar would be in blood. I died because it wouldn't take my dollar.
Wait, let's talk about servers. I don't want Charles to shut this down before we talk about servers. I know.
What are we going to say about servers? So the person asking the question asked the question, and what they wanted is to make a multiplayer game. And they wanted to have the physics work the same on all the different devices and be exactly the same 100% of the time. And the answer that came back was, after people stopped laughing to themselves, was that's very hard, and these are the reasons why. Jump in if you want.
And go.
You sandboxed that question. Right, so the question was, why is it hard? Or, this is why it's hard. But, I thought you had some good ideas, and I think, underscore Mimo, or whatever, however you say that username, they had a good idea, too, that I think you corroborated, or at least you agreed with, it being a good idea. Memo, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a brilliant idea.
What was that idea? Can you restate it for the class?
Yeah, I'm just going back over, because he had a couple of ideas here. But basically what he said he said, take the client-server model, but twist it around. And instead of having the server be some other machine someplace else, have one person's device be the server, and have it be the only one running physics. And then everybody else keys off of what his device is doing, and the inputs come into his device. So instead of having, because part of what makes this really hard is even if you could somehow magically code up, and we're talking about client-server this time, a client-server solution that worked with Corona and Lua and worked over the network, and you got past all the latency issues and all the data transmission issues, it would bog down all these devices. The one slow guy in the room would be having a terrible experience, and most people would be that slow guy. But what he's saying is basically, if you had one device handle both the server work and have the physics running to make the decision-making questions easier, i.e. the physics are doing all the heavy lifting, and then everybody else's devices are just reflecting what's going on, then all you got to deal with is the latency and the transmission of the back and forth data. Now, I don't think it would work still, because latency always gets in the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's that any different than having the centralized server?
Well, it's different in that if you had a centralized server, you'd have to code up a whole solution for that centralized server. Okay. You wouldn't be able to use Corona to make any of the decisions. You'd have to write something else special that acted as the master, the server here. Because the server in the client-server situation is the one that's in charge of making sure the rules are enforced.
Now, how is this Coronium? How is that man, not Coronium itself, because that's not a socket-based server or whatever. But what was the other one? Not Coronium. What was the one where he had sockets? He was using web sockets or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? Chris Byerly?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there was a couple of projects that he had. One was Coronium, which was a web server.
He had game server, but that wasn't used for this kind of thing.
But couldn't it be? And couldn't sockets be kind of a solution for that?
I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say maybe not. I've only used game server a little bit, and then I decided not to, and I went back to just the cloud solution of his because I preferred it. But the reason we're not talking about exactly the same kind of thing now.
Well, the reason I asked
more generic for sharing data about the game, but we're talking about maintaining state in a physics environment and making sure that the physics behave exactly the same in all the systems.
Oh, okay.
So when we talk about that, what we're talking about is basically keeping all the objects in the same place at the same time on everybody's device, making sure that nobody gets shot on one device and they didn't get shot on another device. I mean, those kinds of things.
Have you guys, and maybe I'm still talking about the wrong thing, but have you looked at Meteor? The reason I brought up Chris's stuff, obviously, was because it's in Lua, and he's done a lot of stuff with sockets. One of the things that Meteor offers is, I won't call it real time, but it's basically this idea that anytime that the information changes on the back end, or any thing that would trigger it, it disseminates the changes to all the clients, all the connected clients. So it's sort of not stateless. It's always kind of keeping track of what's going on and mirroring those changes out to everybody who's a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's JavaScript, so.
Meteor what? Where?
Meteor.js. I put a link in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Meteor.com.
I try to use Google.
Just like the astronomical.
So I want to rewind for a minute and say that I really don't think that a client-server model can be accomplished with Corona. I really don't, because the client-server model that I am used to dealing with, back from when I worked with Torque, there's too much heavy lifting and there's too much data transmission for it to be a pleasant experience. One, to create it, and two, to have it work on mobile devices.
Ed, what do you think about? I agree with you 100%. Do you think it would be viable to just have it only LAN-based, just like local?
LAN-based takes away a lot of the problem because your latency goes down.
Right.
LAN latency is 10 milliseconds or less, but internet latency, WAN latency is 100 milliseconds or more. I mean, it could be depending on where you're at.
Right, that's what I'm saying, and I always struggle with that when I, look at a game and I'm like, this would be kind of cool if you could let people play against each other and all that. And then I'm like, well, I just want to do it over LAN. That's all I ever want. I barely want to play with any other people anyway. When I play games, the one time a year that I do play a game, I don't want to play with anybody else in the first place. But if I were to, I'm putting myself in the body of somebody that does want to play with somebody else. Like, wouldn't it be better if I could sacrifice playing against somebody in Singapore at, dropping 6 frames every 30 seconds? Wouldn't I rather play with somebody that's in the same room as me and have zero latency?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to say also that you don't have to. What I didn't get to say there was I said something negative, but I wanted to come back with something positive.
Compliment sandwich. Do it.
Okay, so what I tried to do is drive that guy in the direction of the real question he should be asking is not how do I keep all of these games exactly synchronized, but if I want to make a game where a bunch of people are playing with each other, what are the important parts that need to be synchronized, and focus on if that's a possibility. So this question made me think, what a wonderful example of a game that is out there now that I know that some of you have played, which is that Agar.io. You know, the one with the dots where you chase people around, you absorb their dots. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
It's a minimalistic game. I'm going to bring up a screenshot. And
it's called Stealing Their Soul. You're absorbing their soul.
Of this. Wait a second.
Said that matter of factly, Charles.
Where is it?
Well, isn't that what is it?
Does this look familiar? Vaguely?
Skylander, Outlander, whatever the thing. What are you doing?
I'm trying to show a picture of this game that I'm talking about.
can't
Did I
see
not
your
share my
I've
screen?
seen that guy before.
Yeah, funny. Go. It's not going.
Uh-oh, this is awkward.
See my screen? Oh, crap. I don't want to play. I want to show a screenshot.
Is that Agrio? It's Agrio.
Agario. I don't know how to say it, obviously. But it's this game. This is, when they were asking that question, I thought, what a wonderful example. This game is something that starts to explore what you can do with mobile from sort of like the most basic implementation. It's just dots and very simple mechanics.
Corona?
No, this is made with. I used to know the answer to this question.
Because I was trying to think of real-time multiplayer games that are out there that are built on Corona. Fun Run is sort of the one that came to mind for me.
Yeah.
Does anybody
I think
know?
that's what I'm saying. You can't do it with Corona, or in his mind, you can't.
In my mind, you can do it, but you have to limit the question first. You can't do what they're talking about doing, which is perfect mirroring on all devices.
I mean, they didn't frame it this way, but it's sort of like, how do I set up Call of Duty? I mean, that's
what I heard when they asked the question. Yeah, exactly. You know, that level.
It's
these
like
questions, when I said laugh, when I said, these things make me laugh, it's not because I'm laughing at the person. I'm just laughing because I've heard this question before, and they're not asking the right question. I mean, it's a good question, but it's not exactly the right question.
And I have to admit, I really haven't had a lot of experience with Fun Run, but does anybody know how they sort of accomplish it? Because I know it's real time and it's racing, but I think it's also, that's probably the type of thing where you can get away with a little bit of latency. You can sort of,
I can only guess.
Yeah.
May I guess?
You may.
Okay, my guess is it's a lot like Agar.io. You limit the number of people that can be in a room, and then when you play the game, you get paired up with a certain number of people, and you reflect your moves. So you play in your game is responsible for you, and then every once in a while you send an update to a server somewhere, and that server just mirrors that stuff back out to everybody else, and then it does little tunneling updates to make sure everybody's in the right place.
Yeah.
That's why that game is, if you play it, you'll notice it's a little bit lurchy every once in a while.
Somebody will just sort of jump ahead or behind or...
Right.
So Ed, you were saying there's a question that the real question they should be asking. That question is, what is the best way to identify where everybody is at any given moment?
Now the question is what do I need to have be the same on all devices, and what's the stuff that I can just let fly by do its thing. For example, everybody needs to be maintained in the exact positions they're at, so it's important that you reflect the player positions. But if somebody shoots their gun and their gun explodes, the bullet explodes, everybody can have their own particle effects, and they don't all have to be the same.
Why do you have sort of a redneck flair to your voice when you say gun?
Because I'm shooting my gun.
It's two U's in there. Good.
Another thing about that is that if you can make your random numbers predictable, that can improve things. And also, if you have a good idea of where you'll be, like in 1 second, it's very common to try to interpolate that, just to give it a smooth, reasonably good idea of where you would be, and then you can correct it. The correction won't be so abrupt if it's reasonably near that.
Now, I read someplace that Microsoft is working on that kind of stuff, right? Or has that kind of stuff, does that kind of stuff. Predictive. Yeah.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning and...
I mean, maybe more than just them, but yeah, that seems to be the...
So let me back up for a second. Part of their question was, they said, hey, I tried to do this, and then... I don't think they use these exact words, but they saw different behavior on different devices. And so they just assumed that the physics were non-deterministic and this is a no-go. When in reality the physics are deterministic, but because of the differences between devices, two different devices, an iPad and a Nexus 7, can start the same game and do the same animation, but end up with a different result 3 minutes later. And the reason is because of the way calculations are done on the device. Eventually, they're going to fall out of sync.
And there's a frame tick too.
Right. There's a number of factors, like frame rate can affect it. All kinds of things can affect it. Background processes temporarily taking away CPU cycles, stuff like that.
No, I think you were right though when you mentioned earlier, you were sort of like the notion of only having one instance of Box 2D running across all the devices is sort of a, ignoring for a moment the practicalities of implementing it, is a sort of an effective way to reduce that, because you don't have different physics engines that could introduce minor variations that will result in that divergence down the line.
This question was really interesting to me and made me just want to go and like try to solve this problem, like do an experiment. But I didn't.
Not enough $5 Patreon people yet. Get on it, people.
Pony up that dough. Pony up that dough.
No, but it's a perfect example of what you were talking about, where it's sort of like this is an idea that got your creative juices flowing, but it's going to require some time investment on your part.
You're right. This is exactly what it was. This is the thing I'd love to solve and love to share, but I can't afford to do either of those.
Wait, I want to point this out while we're on this conversation. And Ed, again, this is not about right. We're not. You brought up a good point. We're going to use you as a guinea pig. I think Ed's skill, his forte, the thing that gets him out of bed in the morning is making tools and solving problems. I think he likes, and the tools really are solving a problem. He's trying to make things faster, makes things simpler, make things whatever, right? And I see it over and over again, right? You say like I don't like, this is my programmer art, and I made a game, but you're really always making that game to solve a problem. You're like, I put this mechanic in it, and I want to see how this mechanic worked, And I think that's your thing. I don't think that you should go against that thing. I think you should embrace that thing. That's your thing.
Michael Bay said, "I don't compromise my style. Assholes do that." You're not an asshole, then.
Wait, I went from hustler to being a possible future asshole.
You're not an asshole. That's the thing. Don't compromise your style.
Yeah.
Charles, I do like solving problems. That's my.
And I think that's your thing, man. I think that's it, and that's what you excel at, and that's what interests you, and then I think that's where the value is. Somebody saying, "Ed, how do you do this?" Right? And that's where the Patreon thing comes in, because you're going to spend the time and figuring it out.
No, and I alluded to this, I want to say last week or the week before. That's something that sometimes on the forums you see people who they want to have created a game, but they don't necessarily want, you can tell, it's like they don't have that hunger to solve those problems, and that's going to prevent them from being a good game developer. It's sort of, that doesn't mean they can't have a stake in the process, but it's on a large scale thing, a game director doesn't necessarily have to wake up and want to solve a problem with code. That's not his job. But I think for us indie guys, it's all
but Jason, you said that so beautifully. Like, the tense was perfect, because you got a lot of people that want to have made a game. There are very few people that want to make a game. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what the subtext is when somebody on the forum says, "Just give me the code." It's like, I want to have my game out there, but I don't want to actually make it, or I don't want to have to solve it. And it's like, we can't do that for you. That's not
exactly.
So, Alex, what you're saying is people want to be able to hand their device to people at parties and say, "I've made a game."
They want to say, "I'm a game developer."
I'm a game developer.
I made a game. They don't want to say, "I developed this game."
They don't want to say, "I stayed up for 3 nights solving an algorithm."
Exactly. They don't want to be like, I was, testing. I was walking up to people in the park trying to get them to play the game. I got approached by a police officer, but you know what? I got some really great feedback, and that police officer and I are going to get coffee later. Maybe it'll work out. Who knows? See, they don't want to have those kinds of conversations. And it's understandable. It's weird. It can be confusing, and it can be kind of strange at times. But that's what makes you that's what should get you up in the morning. It's the idea that you're solving that problem. It's the idea that there's a Gordian knot that you're going to unravel, and it's going to turn into a beautiful piece of string in the end.
Here I go back to Urban Dictionary. What the hell did you say?
A Gordian knot? You have to go back to you have to go to Wikipedia for that.
What's the one? What's the
Urban Dictionary might give you a naughty definition.
Messed up, Charles. It's not the Gordian knot. It's the sort of Damocles you got to worry about.
Stop going to Urban Dictionary for things that I say, because you're no wonder you think I have a dirty mind. Who knows what it says in there?
Gordian knot. It literally means an impossible problem.
Ah.
Or otherwise, it's used to refer to a very difficult problem. But
Ed and I had classic.
Charles watching the news. Who's this Santorum guy everybody's talking about? I'm going to go look this up on Urban Dictionary. Stop! No, don't.
Yes, don't stop that. Exactly.
That's it. That's where I get all my news from. Urban Dictionary. It's not in there. I don't know about it. That and Snopes.
You don't believe everything, and you believe everything. Oh man, that would be perfect.
I believe that I believe nothing.
Exactly. It's amazing. So I mean, I think deterministic server-side implementations for physics-based games or multiplayer games and having the instant replay are kind of, they weave. It's the fish's tail. It kind of weaves together at a point. But I mean, I think you can have the positional recording and instant replay in a game. I don't know. Has anybody ever played Damn it! I just took it off my phone, but it was actually really.
I never heard of it. Damn it! I just took it off my phone.
That's gonna be my next app. I know you guys haven't seen it yet. I gotta get
name.
I have a long name. I did that in the App Store.
I should. I don't know if they'll approve it. I gotta asterisk it out, and then nobody will be able to find it. But I don't know. I've never played a game that was like an endless runner that I really enjoyed and had a really cool replay mechanic. It was like, I think it was called Voxel Quest. It was actually really cool, and I really enjoyed playing it. And it was just super simple. There wasn't anything to it. It was a guy running on platforms. He would jump around, blah, blah, blah. He'd tap the screen and all that. But it had a really awesome replay mechanic, and it was ghosted and everything like that. It actually would show every single time you played, died, you went through and everything like that. It was similar to the, the Super Mario Kart from back in the day, when you would be playing against yourself, so to speak. And
I'm absolutely sure that I can implement a system to record positional data as you played a game and replay it in reverse.
Now, what I think would be the sticky wicket, really, is getting it to perform well on an iPhone 4.
Mm.
Well, the question is, when you said ghosting, then I'm like, well, okay, did they throw away the motion for the ghosts? Was it just positional? Or did the ghosts move too?
The ghosts actually. So, I mean, I'll try to find it so you guys can download and play it and check it out.
You guys gotta stop asking these interesting questions. You're sidetracking me from monetizing the Patreon page.
But it was the kind of situation, they were just alphaed out. You know what I mean? They were just like a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? They were just a little bit transparent, and so they were actually following along. So what was happening was the successful completion of the level was the one that was completely opaque. Every other attempt was partially transparent, so you would see where you died as you went through it. And so you
just the moment of death, so you're not seeing the whole playthrough running alongside you.
Exactly. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's really simple to implement.
Games like that. I've even seen games where you like have to kill yourself to use your corpse to get through the level.
That is a cool idea.
It's already done. There's a 2D game out there right now. I think it's mobile, where the only way to get through the level is to like kill yourself on the traps, so you can walk on your corpse later to get over that trap.
Is it obvious that that's what you do, or is that something?
No, it's like one of those you discover it as you go along things.
I think there's a Flash game called Suicide something, or there's a bunch of little animals, and you can do that too.
I cannot stand it when they do stuff like that. Like, I don't want to have to play this for an hour to figure out that I need to die to win.
No, you get through like you get through the first like half a level and boom, you already died. So then you go like, oh look, there's my corpse. What would happen if I jumped on it?
So it's almost like a training thing.
Yeah, you don't like most of the games nowadays. You're not alive 5 seconds later. And there's a lot of death involved.
Now, but when I heard the instant replay thing, what brought to if you guys have played Braid, Jonathan Blow's game.
I have played
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's sort of what came to mind for me, because I thought that was a really cool sort of rewind feature. And I think that can be done, certainly in Corona. Again, it just becomes a question of how many bodies are you tracking, how much, it can get unwieldy, and perhaps take a performance hit. If, how far back do you want to track? If you're talking, I need to keep the last 10 seconds in memory. Okay, we create a Lua table that every 500 milliseconds tracks the, XY coordinates, rotation, and velocity values for every physics object, and we can just, rewind through those. If you're talking suddenly about having a bullet hell game with 100 moving parts.
No, forget that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think for a relatively simple platformer, it's definitely doable.
I think if you only retain, like the player and only at certain points, then you'd be okay. But if it's like everything else, you'd be insano. How to crash my user's phone within 30 seconds.
Do you retain the physics, or was it just suggesting the positions?
Well, I could see a way to do both, honestly.
Yeah. If you did physics information, you have to store more.
Just snag that stuff into a table and then reset it at each point.
You just do a get velocity, linear and/or angular, and store that in the table. And then if you pause physics, you reposition everything, you set their velocity their velocity values, and then you restart the physics engine. At least in theory, everything should sort of.
Yeah. The only problem is you're going to run into, let's say I'm recording and I take a snapshot at 30 milliseconds, 63 milliseconds, 109 milliseconds. But when I play back, it's 33 milliseconds, 61 milliseconds. I'm applying these at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be exactly the same. But the question is will they notice? Or does it matter?
Well, and in my mind, just sort of the best implementation of this, the sort of best compromise between user experience and achieving it would be not necessarily to have the idea that it's a smooth replay, but that it's, a shuttle. You can go back a half a second, 1 second, 2 seconds. You know what I mean? So it's more staccato.
I'm listening, but I'm trying to find this corpse climbing video. Because that's really what's important, is climbing corpses. Actually, I got
a great metaphor for development.
I just realized this. I got to go pick my wife up at the airport, and I don't think she'd be very happy if I forgot to pick her up.
Oh, the old I got to go pick my wife up at the airport excuse. Okay, got it.
Yep. Yeah. Climbing corpses aside, I got to go pick my wife up at the airport.
I'm sorry, dear. I was looking for climbing corpses, and I was hanging out with the boys.
I'm trying to figure out how to kill myself and climb on my body.
Well, you just let me in the house. It's cold out here.
Yeah. About 5 minutes later, I'd hear, "Woo! It's the police came."
No, officer. I don't know who that is. He's. I've seen him roaming the streets before, but he doesn't live here. Not anymore, he didn't.
I think he's around the corner. Yeah.
So, Charles, what does Urban Dictionary say about picking your wife up from the airport? What ridiculous.
You should look that one up.
Is that a euphemism for something?
I looked up pickle thrower. You looked that one up.
It's not like dropping the kids off at the pool. Put up, I'm out of here.
Good Lord. Now we're going way back.
Don't try the veal, guys. It's not good here.
Yeah. All right, guys.
You have a good rest of the week. Charles, and you and I are supposed to talk sometime. Obviously not right now.
Yep.
Eric, thank you so much for your input. You're offline there. I don't know what you're doing, but you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next week.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. It's 10:20, so.
Are we all gonna flash out? Or?
I think we should all flash out.
We were waiting.
Yeah, I was. I was looking for the. Hey, there we go. Somebody sneezed.
How's that?
All right.
Well,
Good talk, guys.
Yeah.
Talk to you next week.
Right.
Peace out.
Later.
Hasta luego. Something like that. Peter thing. Arrivederci.
Oh, I better end the broadcast first.
But goodbye in different languages till you're all gone.